It's not the poster on the wall with the core values, but when that can become your gospel, when that can become what you make every decision by, your out of bounds markers, when nobody's around, I think that really is a big piece of the special sauce or whatever you want to call it. I truly believe we are living by them.
This is the PMP Industry Insider Podcast.
Hello, everyone. Welcome out to another episode of the PMP Industry Insider Podcast, where we take a look at what is changing in the pest and lawn industries, and we take you to the front lines for those that are driving those changes. I'm Donnie Shelton, owner of Triangle Home Services, which has Triangle Pest and Willis Triangle Lawn. And with me this wonderful morning is Mr. Dan Gordon. Dan, would you like to say good morning, introduce our sponsors, talk about our topic, and then also introduce our very special guest, which I will put this out now. It's not just me and Dan, so you can keep listening if you've heard that before and was woefully disappointed that it was just us. So there we go.
And if you want to laugh some too.
Oh, this is definitely true.
This is going to be good. So, anyway, Dan Gordon, PCO bookkeepers and M&A specialists, accounting, business brokerage for the pest and lawn industry. Three sponsors that I wanted to talk about, although my son said, PCO Bookkeepers is a sponsor. That's kind of self-serving. And I said, yeah, it is. So that's the fourth. But the first sponsor is one that's been here since the beginning. That would be Comarch. If you're interested in marketing services for pest or lawn, visit them at comarch.com. And right now they're offering the first month free for podcast listeners. Just go to comarch.com/podcast to claim that offer. Another that's been here since the beginning is PestSure, and they provide insurance to the pest control industry as well as lawn care, providing auto, GL, workers' comp. I believe they also do EPLI and a few other things. So to learn more at pestsure.com. And then we have Voice for Pest. They are a pest management industry leader in designing and implementing unparalleled voiced solutions for PCOs of any size, coast to coast. Learn more at voiceforpest.com/podcast. And we're actually going to be talking quite a bit about this, but if you're interested in a peer group, go back and listen to episode 136. That's with David Billingsley. He's one of our facilitators who is outstanding. And if you're interested in a peer group, which we've got lots of interest lately, so we're creating more and more groups, visit us at pmpindustriinsider.com/peer groups. And today, this should be good. We're going to be talking with Kevin Sherrill and Patrick Sherrill of Sherrill Pest Control in Manchester, Tennessee. Kevin's president, representing a third generation. Patrick is inside sales, representing the fourth generation. We originally invited you on the podcast to talk about passing the torch between generations, but also we're excited to hear that your recent recognition as the #1 small business in PCT Magazine's 2025 Best Places to Work rankings. Hey, congratulations. And by the way, Kevin, Sherrill Pest Control has been a PCO client for a very long time. And when we meet up, we just laugh and laugh and laugh. And I think that business has seriously improved. Not saying that it's us, but it's this is a business that really, moving from one generation to the next, keeps improving. So welcome, Kevin. Welcome, Patrick. Patrick,
Thank you.
mute. Now you're not.
Yeah, he's got it figured out. He's got the technology figured out. We're all
You
good.
got that down? All right.
I like it. I like it.
Just let me know if it's not working for you. I see what I can do. And I'm sure your dad, heck, he's a technologist from the start.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. So should we get in here? By the way, congratulations to both of you guys being #1 small business in PCT Magazine's Best Places to Work. That's an amazing accomplishment. So congratulations to both of you guys. And can I just start with a quick story? And I think I may have told this story before, but it's just so good I can't help myself, which is many, 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 many years ago, I went out to go visit Mr. Kevin. And Kevin's probably going to remember this story. So he tells me where their office is, which, by the way, is in Murfreesboro, right? Or at least close to Murfreesboro.
Manchester.
Well,
Yeah.
Manchester,
30 minutes away. Yeah,
30 minutes
close.
away. So I start looking at like airports to go to, how I'm going to get in. And I just happened to stance upon this place called Rock Haven Lodge, where he lives, which also it's a nudist colony. So I thought, oh my gosh, where in the world am I going? So
Welcome to Tennessee.
luckily, I did not make any stops there. I did not see that place, but I certainly gave Kevin a hard time about it. And
They got
anyway,
their own airport?
they don't have their own airport, but it
Oh,
is
okay.
close to the
That
airport.
community is one of our best customers.
Really?
No, not really, but that would be interesting.
Yeah.
It would be interesting.
We go knock doors there anyway. We don't sell anything, but we still knock doors.
Oh gosh.
Here we
All
go.
right, there we go. There we go. So let's start with Kevin. Kevin, just give us a quick overview. Just tell us how your family got started in pest control. Obviously how and when you joined the business, and really like what your role is today. Much like what what I know Dan talked about. We had a previous episode we're talking about passing the torch. But just can you talk through what you're doing today, how it all got started, and just kind of catch everyone up as far as those have just did not listen to the previous episode.
Yes, I will try to make this brief. It's my grandfather started back in the 1950s working for a pest control company in Tampa. Don't know the name of the company, but that's really how our family got a taste of the pest control industry. They moved in the early 60s back to the Middle Tennessee area, and he became a sharecropper working for an influential man in this really rural area we're in. Apparently, he had some pest needs or termite needs, and Grandpa told him he knew how to do it harsh, Sherrill. So he did a good job. That guy was impressed enough. He started spreading the word when other people in town, in the county, needed work. And eventually, Grandpa just got out of the sharecropping and just started doing this. Now, he was operating, I believe, with Sherrill Pest Control, but he wasn't licensed. He wasn't chartered. I think we're far enough away. Statute of limitations probably should have already passed.
I don't think it ever starts unless you register.
He worked under another man's license in Tennessee and continued to do this. Now, during this time, my grandpa had 7 kids. All of the boys worked in the business as they were growing up, but I think they all pretty much swore an oath they weren't going to continue working in the business, crawling houses and spraying chlordane. Dad took off to serve the country in the Marines after school. When he got back, he went to work at the ambulance service and just set up at night with a notepad and pen, trying to figure out how to make money. What am I going to do with my life? And a gentleman came to him, Mr. Ray Markham. Well, there's a couple of them in town, not a pharmacist, but this other one that lived out in the Hillsborough area, and said, I want to buy your dad's company, but I need a Sherrill name. Will you come in partners with me? And so both of them bought my grandfather's route, I guess you would call it, still kept their full-time jobs, and then they did this on the side. After about a year, Ray just said, this is too much. I need out. But they had a huge dilemma. They had bought a new truck, the termite truck, probably a 1976 F-150, and Dad didn't have any money to buy him out. So they talked about it, and the decision was made. Let's give Ray the new work truck, and Dad will keep making the payments on it. And that bought out the other half of the business, and kind of the rest is history after that. That was 1975, 1976. That's when we became a legal company in the state of Tennessee's eyes, and have just continued since then. I got involved.
And we're going to say that you were licensed after that as well.
We were licensed, chartered. All that happened starting in 1975. Maybe we'll cut all that section out there.
So you started without a truck. When did the new truck come in, or did you operate out of a station wagon or something?
I'm not sure exactly what he did, but ironically, Grandpa's first vehicle was a 47 Plymouth limousine with suicide doors. He was excited. It was the family car, except kids don't leave door handles alone going down the road, and 2 different kids pulled the door handle and got slung out of the car going down the road. And my grandmother, I think, told him either get rid of the car or I'm getting rid of you. So he took the back seat out and put a termite tank in it. And that was our first official Sherrill Pest Control vehicle.
Nice. So you're driving around in a Hearst.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I joined in the in the early 80s, I started doing moisture barrier jobs for my dad. He would sell them during the week. I would go out to do them on the weekends, and then started spraying a little and just kind of teaching me the ropes. When I got out of high school, I thought my dad was not very smart. He needed to read a few books or something. So I went to work for my uncle in the same industry in pest control, but 30 miles away. Uh, a year or two later, I guess I thought Dad had probably read a few books and wised up some. In hindsight now, probably maybe I wised up a little bit and realized that I needed to listen to him more. Luckily, my dad and my mom, my stepmom, they welcomed me back into the company and just started learning the ropes, the different roles, and they just moved me from position to position and just kind of followed along with him. Ended up buying the company from him. I thought I had shadowed him long enough that I was prepared for anything. And then the very first thing that happened about 45 days after I bought it was COVID. Dad had not prepared me for a pandemic. So, it was really interesting along the way. But that's kind of how I got started. Right now, my main role in the company is setting the vision and supporting the leadership team. I do get caught in the weeds on some other things at times, but that's where most of my time is spent, and just really enjoying it, loving working alongside my son. We do have another son that has worked some in the business. He's still going to college right now, Keaton. But it's really been a joy working with Patrick. I feel like we've had a really good time over the last several years.
So, Patrick, honest question, honest answer on this: is your
Yeah.
dad bright, and does he read enough?
Yes.
That was two questions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. He's a wise guy. A lot of wisdom. A lot of wisdom.
Oh, definitely, and it makes you laugh the whole way up. So Kevin, talk about what you took over the business. I know when we started working with you, your dad was you just run as hard as you can, and you hopefully make a profit at the end of the day. What have you done since then? And it's been several years, but I've seen the company transform into a real company that makes a really good profit. Tell me about that.
Well, Dad always had a goal of reaching, or the goal I remember, he wanted to hit $1 million. He wanted to hit $1 million in revenue. It took about 33 years to get there, just slow, steady growth. And now I had learned from him the desire to always want to learn and grow. Back in the day, maybe the audio book club or whatever, they'd mail a cassette once a month and listen to, was always listening to books. He was going to conferences and talking with Al Foster, Ray Johnson, other people in the industry. He started sharing that desire with me. So I started coming back with all these ideas from the academy and from just different people throughout the association. And I found out we ended up finding ourselves growing a company we weren't prepared to run or lead. Basically, the company had outgrown its leadership, me mainly. There's no other way to say that. It happened. That small of a company, really operational drama started to pop up. People drama started to pop up. I'm not saying we were a terrible company, but it just wasn't fun for me anymore. Had grown something that was desired to help Dad hit that goal, but I realized that we were missing some pieces, and just really had to have an honest look in the mirror to decide, man, is this really what I want? And I looked in the mirror one day, I'll never forget, just thinking I wouldn't want my kids to have my life. Now, I don't want anybody to feel sorry for me. Really had a good life, but I guess I knew mentally the weight that was going on from what I created at the company and wasn't prepared or able to handle it. I sure wouldn't want to put that stress on my kids. So that really opened my eyes up right then that if I'm going to stay in it and if there's a chance for the next generation, we're going to have to build a company, the systems and processes to be able to handle the growth that will be coming, to make sure it's a business that's a blessing to our family and to the team members and their families, and not just run the owner, which it had gotten to the point that's what it was doing. So just been on this quest trying to figure out what an operating system would be. I know a lot of y'all use traction. We're using scaling up with Petra Coach. That was really eye-opening for me to be able to plug that operating system into our business. We're at another kind of ceiling right now within our company, but luckily due to the tools and the operational things that we've learned, we know how to go attack this. Now it's around kind of that middle layer of leadership that we're looking to build that will just stop us from any future growth. Well, that's very similar to what we ran into at $1 million, but at least now we have the tools to get us past that. So that's really kind of what I feel like my mission is in this business. Obviously, I want to grow, but I want to make sure I'm able to pass on something that's sustainable and something that's a blessing to everyone involved. So it's kind of been our journey. I don't know if I answered your question, man. I got to
You
ramble.
absolutely did. So Patrick, you know, your dad's doing all the talking, but well, that doesn't surprise me, right? But but did you know, watching your dad being unhappy, probably making some good money, but being unhappy, uh, what made you want to go into it?
I'm sure he was like, "Let's sign me up."
You know, I didn't really know if if this is what I wanted to do for the longest time. I knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur of some sort, start my own business, not necessarily pest control, but that's kind of what I always wanted to do. And then just working in the business a little bit here and there whenever I was after high school, when I was going through college, part time, and then after college, stayed on full time with the company. And then I just really started to see a glimpse of what my grandpa and my dad was doing, pouring into people, changing our team members' lives and investing in the community and the team. And I just realized like, man, this is an awesome opportunity to just serve people, to leave a positive impact. And at that point, I was like, man, I'm all in. I just saw there was more to it than the money, and there was more to it than the 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 status or the business or all that stuff. That was what was desirable to me whenever I was younger. But then my perspective really changed whenever I saw that there's a way deeper meaning to what we're doing than just making a profit and you know
Well, I
selling
have
some
to say,
houses.
Patrick, you and I are very similar in that regard. One of the things that I try to preach at Triangle is, we have our own little universe and we can make that little universe the way we want it, right? And so we could create a company that's amazing and it's awesome and it has this huge impact for everyone that's a part of it. Or we can create this place where no one really cares. And you know what I mean? Like it's this, because obviously if you go to these super, super large companies, especially very large corporations, I mean, there's going to be a certain culture, there's going to be a certain expectation, and by design, right? I mean, you just can't scale that large and keep, that kind of culture. And you look at really, really large companies, all of them struggle to do it. But when you're a small business, especially, private, you can pretty much create whatever you want. And so to your point, that also excites me as well. I love the fact that we can focus on the culture that we want, create the kind of place that everyone wants to be at, and that's very difficult. I mean, making the money. I'm not going to say making money is easy, but going above and beyond that is obviously. I think it's much more difficult than just. And I think it's also sustainable too. I don't think you can go very far if you don't recognize that there's more to it than just that. I mean, so no, good on you for recognize that early. I have a quick question for you, Patrick. Now, obviously, there's this. Kevin was hating life and said, "Hey, here you go." No, I'm just kidding. Here you go, son. This is just for you, son. No. So, so now, I don't get the sense from you that, and I don't think, I mean, Kevin, listen, we all have those moments. If you own a business, there are definitely times you're not having fun. And anyone that says, I've just had this big box of cherries and it's been great the whole time, I would say either they got something going on mentally or they're lying. But any case, I'm not saying that it's always bad. I'm just making a point that
Not
there's
saying that you have
definitely
something going on mentally, but
well, but there are ebbs and flows in business and there's challenges and there's wins and that's just part of it. But for you, Patrick, you're saying you wanted to come into the business and you didn't see yourself, you wasn't sure if you was going to stay. Now that I'm assuming you're the one that's leading it. Like, what are you doing to develop yourself as a leader? What are you trying to do a little bit differently than your dad? And what do you kind of see as the opportunity, for where you're going and what you want to do?
So what I'm doing to develop as a leader, and it's not much different than what Dad's doing. I mean, just seeking counsel from those people who I admire, from those other pest control operators, other business owners that, are just, they seem to have lightning in a bottle. Find those people who you desire to imitate and learn what they're doing and apply it. Reading a lot of books, such as he does as well. We got a couple book clubs going on right now, one for the leadership team. We just started one in the office as well that they're just doing themselves. I'm a part of it, but they're definitely taking the initiative on that. Um, and just studying scripture. I mean, I think a lot of wisdom and leadership comes from there as well. That's something
Hmm.
that I really try to focus on heavily. Um, some challenges I've faced. I hadn't really had that looking in the mirror, oh crap moment that Dad has had just yet. I'm sure I will at some point. But a real challenge that I had, a couple of them. One, just the people part. Man, it was really difficult to come in here, and he brought me in on the leadership team really early on, and I was really appreciative of that. But it was a challenge because most of the people I was leading, actually, all of them have been there longer than I was, and
Hmm.
they were all older than me. And that was, I'm not going to say that I feel worthy now to lead those folks. The first thing he told me whenever I came in the first day was, your number one job is to earn the trust and respect of the team. And I'm not going to say I've fully done that, and I don't think I ever will. I don't think that's a process you quit. I think if I can stay focused on keeping their trust and their respect and growing them as individuals, whatever that looks like in whatever capacity, I think we're going to be just fine.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. Um,
So you
well, go ahead.
watching your grandfather, turn it over to your dad. What's different about your dad turning it over or getting ready to turn it over to you? What do you think that how's that different?
Well, something that I saw from my papa to my dad is, and it was hard for Dad at first, I think, to realize this, but we do things the same way for a very long time. We get used to it. We become the bottlenecks. Not being able to properly delegate things and hold people accountable. I think that was a big change that Dad had. Just pouring into the team, giving them the tools and resources that they need. And then, like he said, his number one job is just being there to support the leadership team. Used to, when we would go to quarterly planning, his name would be on every single priority down the list. Well, now he's learned, hey, let's put that in the hands of our team, and then me be here to support them in any way whenever they get stuck or whatever it may be. And I think just continuing to build upon that, making sure we're focusing on the right things, working on the right things. And I still struggle with it now. I spend a lot of my time in the weeds, such as he said, doing things that, working more in the business rather than on it. And that's something that here in the coming year that I'm going to be focusing on. I'm leading the sales team right now. And I finally got to a point to where I'm not necessarily in sales. I'm just motivating them, coaching them, supporting them. And then I'll be moving over to leading the office at the beginning of the year. And just, I'll have a lot of opportunity there to carry over what I've learned with my team that I have now, with the rest of them there.
So let's talk a little bit about, I'm sure there's some listeners that are, they're listening to this and they're like, I know that in service companies, people are usually not part of the problem, right? And when I say part of the problem, like no one struggles with that. No, I'm just kidding. So my question is like, what do you guys feel like makes Sherrill a really good place to work? Now, best place to work, obviously, the rankings are based upon anonymous employee surveys. Um, what would you say for you guys that you feel like is the critical things to do if you're listening to this podcast and you do want to create a place where people want like coming to work and they're very satisfied with what they do? What do you feel like those factors are, and what do you feel like gives you an edge as far as being a great place to work?
I
That's
would
either one of
say,
you.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
let Patrick go first.
Yeah.
I mean, I really think it comes down to, it's not the poster on the wall with the core values, but when that can become your gospel, when that can become what you make every decision by, your out of bounds markers, when nobody's around. I mean, I think that really is a big piece of the special sauce or whatever you want to call it. I truly believe we are living by them. I mean, those carry more weight than our employee handbook. Those carry more weight than our policies. All the handbook and the policies and our SOPs are just as important, but that's the lens in which I feel like our team makes decisions through, the lens in which they look through. I truly believe that we're just core values driven in everything we do. Um, I think that's probably one of the biggest pieces. I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
I'll say when we first started working with a coach, I remember telling him, man, and we worked on core values the first 2 days in kickoff. And I remember telling him, man, my team needs this. I just kept saying that. And he just said, oh, I tell you what, you need to just post these up, blow them up big and post them all over the office. and just test them for the next few weeks. See if they're alive and well in the company. When you have interactions with your team, look up at them and refer to them, and just do this self-reflection. Um, and I did that, man. I'd have a conversation with Patrick or with this person or that person, and I'd look up at them core values, and I was judging them. Not while they were in there, but once they walked out. Man, I had an interaction about 3 weeks into this process. And afterwards, when they walked out, I looked up on the wall and it hit me like a ton of bricks. I'm the one that needed those core values. I'm the one that needed them, not them. Obviously, they did. I'm not saying I was a terrible person, but it's got to start at the top. And that was such an eye-opening moment for me when so it's been a process. Somebody can't tell me something and I just go run with it and got it figured out. I'm kind of slow learning things sometimes, it's just been a journey, these core values as far as helping transform my life. And I'll tell you, the team that we have, in some ways, they may have bought into it quicker than I did. In some ways, as far as how to express it, and I've learned so much from them. They've made me, my leadership team, and even the frontline team has made me a better person and helped me show me how to better live out those values. It sounds kind of strange to say, but I mean, that's just total transparency. So I will go on those core values as being a big one. And in the beginning, it was really kind of fake it till you make it. I heard about this culture and core values and how important they are. I heard that from other people in the industry, and I talked the talk, but it just took a while for it to really set in and to be true in my, it actually be the case for me.
I think another part too, I know y'all do traction with us doing scaling up. We do 2 weekers. I'm sure y'all are familiar with that, checking in one-on-one with team members every 2 weeks. Historically, when we look back and whenever we really were struggling as a business, at least since I've been involved the last 8 or 9 years, it's when our 2 weekers have been slacking, when we haven't been meeting as regularly as we should. Because in those 2 weekers, I mean, that's when we're discussing our numbers. Everybody on the team has a number, they have goals, and that's a chance to not only check in on the accountability part of performance, but also there's a big personal aspect to it as well. It's not necessarily a therapy session or anything like that, but it genuinely, I feel like the people who are in these 2 weekers, everybody on the team, the more we buy into that and the importance of it, and we get out of it what we put into it. And I think here lately we've really been utilizing those well. And
well, what gets focused on gets done. I think that's what you're saying. And I mean, at the end of the day, if that's, I agree with that, right? There's a process. And listen, I don't know where your football is at. I'm a huge Nick Saban fan. I mean, I'm not necessarily an Alabama fan, but he's, as far as leadership wise, I mean, the guy's accomplished a lot. And that's one of the things he, hammers down on is always follow the process, right? There's a process, follow the process and be consistent with the process. And so I think what you're saying there, Patrick, makes total sense to me that, you should be, figure out what those things are. And I'd never heard 2 weekers. I'm sure scaling up is just as fun as traction. They're all tools, right? But ultimately, that thing of just coming back to this is what's important. This is what's important because obviously when you don't focus on it, then something else becomes important, and oftentimes that's not necessarily aligned with where you're trying to go as a business. So that's fantastic. That's great.
Here's a question for you so Kevin has been in our peer group, one of our peer groups for several years now. And then Patrick, you just started coming. What did you learn from that? Coming bunch of old guys who have been in the group for a while. We have other groups with much younger people, but you came into a group that was fairly established. I don't know, Donnie, how long have we been doing that? 10 years?
Hey, hang on. I think the best thing that happened is Kevin started wearing skinny jeans, right? I mean, Kevin lost some weight.
What? Skinny jeans?
Wait, well, I just remember we were talking the rule of 23, and he said, well, that's my belt, my waist size, or is that a composite number? But,
oh, gosh. But that is true. Listen, I have to say I'm impressed. I mean, listen, when Kevin first started versus Kevin now, it's completely different.
Totally different.
One of them is he got super healthy, right? I mean, it's true. I mean, I have to say. So anyway.
So Patrick, you came into this group that was established for a very long time. What were your initial impressions? What'd you see there? Did you get anything from it? And now you're going to be in one of our other peer groups with probably mostly guys your age and whatnot. But what'd you see?
I think it just really opened my eyes as to what's possible. I mean, I think we all suffer from tunnel vision at times when we're just day to day, doing the same things the same way. I think it just really broadened my perspective on what is achievable, what is possible, and what applying pressure from your peers around you can do, what the results of that can be. Because I've just seen whenever Dad started talking about going to this peer group, I was like, oh, that's cool. You know, I don't really understand what that is. Like y'all
Sure,
get
Pop.
together and talk about your numbers. That's cool, I guess, but it's a lot more than that. I mean, um, you know, it just really broadened my perspective on what is possible. And you asked specifically what I've taken away from it. I can show you whenever we meet here in a few weeks or a month or so. I mean, I have a notebook full just from the two or three times I've been in the room with y'all. I feel like um, I don't know, and I really appreciate y'all's welcoming of me. You know, it's been a really great experience so far.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, no, we really like that. It's a fun group, and there's a lot of knowledge that comes from it. Any specific books that you've read that you would tell people to start with, besides Donnie's books or my books?
You know, I was getting ready to make that same joke, Dan. I was
Yeah.
going to say, besides
Yeah.
Dan's books. Yeah. No.
Ah,
Uh,
Grow,
I
build, and lemonade stand. I think kind of the three. Yeah, I think.
ah,
I don't know. I think
Go ahead.
everybody needs to read the classics like How to Win Friends and Influence People, Seven Habits, stuff like that. Here lately, been reading Dare to Lead. I think Renee Byrne is maybe the author of that. It's a
mhm.
great book. Five Dysfunctions of a Team, phenomenal book. Really just took our office culture to another level as far as just um, vulnerability and calling each other out, holding each other accountable. It has been phenomenal. Um, and then Crucial Conversations. I haven't read that one in a while, but that one really helped me a lot because something I struggled with for a long time. Like I said, the challenge I had in leading others was, feeling worthy to lead people who've been there longer than me and didn't want to have those tough conversations. And it really just helped me understand that if you really care about someone, have the conversation.
Yeah.
So that's a few that really had an impact on me.
I can't agree with that more. What about you, Kevin? Any recommendations?
You know, probably the biggest one, and this is not a sales pitch for the coaching program that we're using, but we're scaling up. I think you've had Vern on here before, Vern Harnish on your program or your
We
podcast
have.
at one time. But I've
Hmm.
been to all these industry events. I talked with mentors and peer groups, and it's like I had seen a car, a really good company. I'd seen a successful company. I'd seen all the parts that you can apply to it, but never really a manual about how to put them together, what to focus on and when. So for me, that was just a huge, that doesn't tell you everything you need to know about business, but it really laid an outline out for how and when and where to plug the things in. And then from there, anything Patrick Lencioni or John Maxwell, there was many of books that have impacted us, but that one really kind of gave the framework or guide for me to apply all the other books on my bookshelf. So
Yeah.
that was probably most instrumental. Other than that, I would say peer groups and podcasts and our association, the National Association, the State Association, and the people in the industry. There have been times when business has been, well, I was so overwhelmed with business that I backed away from my involvement in those associations, just really trying to get a handle of what was going on in the business.
Hmm.
As I'm getting on the other side of that now and getting more back involved, I really see what I was missing when I didn't continue that involvement in the associations all along. This just is such a great industry with people that are willing to share what's worked, what hasn't. And I rely just a lot. These people, all y'all, my peer group, Dan, Donnie, there's many others there, and all of them in our peer group is such great mentors. And then other people such as Aaron and Al from All American and Sherry Spencer. And my goal now is to try to help introduce Patrick to people and let him start expanding his network because I know how influential and impactful it's been on our business.
Well, I tell you, this survey and this award that you guys got, I mean, it echoes what you're saying, which I think is probably the most important thing of any service company is it's all about focusing on your people and the fact that you guys have been able to make your business like again #1 small business in PCT Magazine. That's a fantastic. Fantastic accomplishment, and it also says a lot about your focus. And to me, it says that your focus is on the right thing. Ultimately, nothing happens unless someone does it. And so the fact that you guys are focused on that, I think, says a lot about where you're going and what you're doing. And so, congratulations on that. And certainly, I think that's well deserved. And I've had the privilege of kind of sitting in the sidelines here and kind of watching you guys and watching what you're doing. And I will say that to our listeners, they have made a ton of progress from when they started, and it's just been amazing watching you guys do this. Any parting advice you would give for folks who are, might be possibly struggling with people or struggling with growing their business? And, I know you talked about books, you talked about podcasts. I know that you've given kind of like books, tools, and mentors. Anything else you can think of kind of on the people side that you would focus on besides values? And I mean, listen, we've said a lot, and I think there's a lot in here. I'm just, parting thoughts before we finish out here.
For me, what did the most good? Looking in the mirror and checking my heart. I mean, you have the values, you have this, is really working on myself, thinking about myself.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was able to have a lot bigger impact on everyone else. So, I mean, hire slow, fire fast. We're getting better at that. But it was really when I was able to internalize it and figure out how to actually live it and apply it, I think that trickles down and helps a lot.
They say business development is personal development. So very, very good. I agree with that one. What about you, Patrick?
Kind of ties to that. I think whenever I really started to feel like I was excelling more as a leader and helping people is whenever I got my house in order. Get a good routine in the morning or whatever time of day that needs to be for you. Eat good, exercise, whatever that looks like for you. Study something that you find value from. And I mean, if you're not taking care of yourself, if you're not developing yourself, I mean, the law of the lid, your people aren't going to grow.
Right. Yep. Dan, any parting thoughts before we finish out here? Oh, you muted there, buddy. So
he told me to unmute mine. And look at
That's right. I see that I'm helping you with the technology. So my dog was barking. That's why I muted myself. But anyway, no, I think that we captured the essence of who these two guys are and a lot of fun that we have with them over the years, and more to continue. I just want to know how much he paid PCT to have them write that about the.
That's terrible.
I'm not allowed to disclose that.
Oh gosh. Well, Kevin and Patrick, thanks for coming on board. Really appreciate you guys sharing your wisdom and your knowledge with our listeners. I think those that are listening to the podcast will get quite a bit out of this. And just a reminder, all the resources and topics that we talked about today are going to be available on the podcast website. Just go over to pmpindustryinsider.com. We'll link up Sherrill Pest Control on there. You can take a look at their website. You can creep on it like we do in all our markets. We always look at our competitors. I'm sure none of you do that as well. But as always, we appreciate any ratings and reviews that you have. And, of course, we ask that you pass any complaints on to Dan, as he loves that. And with that, we're signing off. We'll see you all next time. Take care.
Yeah.